Hi, sorry about the delay. So I apologize this morning. I've just been having some technical problems and problems getting myself organized. Some days I'm like that. And I don't know about you, but I have days where I feel like I'm really on, and then some days I feel like I'm terrible at everything. And I know a lot of that is not really how competent I am from one day to the next, but just kind of where my awareness is and that all or nothing thinking. So I'd like to explore that a little bit in our practice to learn self-compassion and kindness towards ourselves. That's something I have to continually work on. I never reach a point where it's like, hey, I've arrived. Sometimes I think that on one of my good days, but it's always something that I have to work towards. And as I work towards that self-compassion, I develop the same compassion and forgiveness and kindness towards others. So let's start out. I was hunching a little bit. I'm going to open my chest up. In fact, I'm going to stretch a little bit here. So just reaching behind me, my fingers are kind of tented. I'm just opening a little bit through the upper back. All those expectations and perfectionism, I carry all of that right here in my body. And I tend to, when I'm not continually working, get stressed out and tight there. All right. Reach your hands behind you, interlace them if you can, and I'm just going to kind of twist a little bit from side to side. And no, I did not get a tattoo. I just like to draw on my arm sometimes. All right, now I'm going to give myself a hug. So arms big. Grab the opposite shoulder with the opposite hand and just drop your chin to your chest. That helps stretch out the neck a little bit. Get some space between those vertebrae. And breathe. I'm going to switch arms. So other arm will be on top and just drop my chin again. And release the hands. Okay, keeping the chin level here, we're going to just listen to the right shoulder. Or if you're mirroring me, it'll be your left. I love this part, leaving the world behind and coming to my practice. Returning to that breath, like returning to an old friend. And coming back to center, I'm going to do some cat and cow stretches from here. So coming onto all fours, you're going to drop your belly, tilt your tailbone up, and look up as you inhale. Exhale, round. Inhale, look up. Exhale, round. I'm just gonna now shake my tail a little bit to kind of move the spine the other way. So just moving those hips from side to side. If it's uncomfortable to be on your knees, you can sit here or find another position and just wait for the rest of the practice and just focus on your breath. As long as you're using your breath and being mindful, you are practicing yoga. So even someone who's very disabled or has a lot of limitations can practice yoga. Because if you're with your body and breath, that's yoga. All right, let's stretch out here, coming into child's pose. And rocking forward, let's come to downward facing dog. Take an inhale, curl the toes under, lift the knees up as you exhale and press back. Now I'm gonna walk out this first dog. And I love this part coming into my practice, but it's different for different people. If you're feeling kind of like, oh, I feel stiff and I'm not really into this, I have days like that too. Just notice it. You don't have to judge yourself, just notice and be with it, whatever you're experiencing. And I'm just really stretching out here. I'm gonna bend my knees and stretch out through my upper body, kind of like a cat or when your dog stretches. And nice. Okay, I'm just gonna play with my neck a little bit in down dog here, turning from side to side. Nodding my head. And now let's walk the hands back towards the feet, pulling that belly in as we step back. And forward fold, crossing the arms. Let's just sway a little bit here. And you can have your knees pretty bent here if you prefer. I don't know about you, but the smoke has been bothering my sinuses. So if you have to breathe through your mouth, you can. All right, I'm gonna release my hands and nod my neck, nod my head a little more. Turn from side to side. And you'll have to excuse me, I'm gonna have to go grab a tissue and blow my nose real quick. Sorry about that. Now, bring the feet to about hip width distance, and we're gonna inhale, stretch all the way up, and I'm gonna interlace my fingers and just stretch up and back. You can bring your hands to your lower back if you want here. Just open through the chest and back. Oh, that feels good. Inhale, circle, sweep up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, lift. Exhale, bow down. Inhale, look up, flat back, and maybe lift those shoulder blades a little bit, even if it means grabbing onto the knees. Exhale, release. Inhale up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, lift. Exhale, bow. Inhale, look up, and again, lift those shoulders. Exhale, release. arms like a pendulum here. And just kind of stretch out a little bit more through the upper back, get some movement. So just watch out for furniture, because I've done this and like slammed into stuff. It's not very fun. All right, let's stretch a little deeper through the arms. So cross one arm over and anchor it with the other arm, either above or below the elbow, not on the elbow. We're just going to stretch out through the shoulder. All right, let's shake it out. And open up big. And now let's get the other arm either above or below the joint. Never press on a joint. Never press on a joint. That can lead to injury. All right, let's stretch up and over, and I'm going to reach up and around, and my hands reach, but it's okay if they don't. Whether your hands reach or not is just a measure of how your body's built, how naturally flexible you are, and how much you stretch. All right, other side. A great thing to use here is a yoga strap if you can't quite reach, or a towel. Or you can always just have one arm up and use the other to stretch out. Inhale up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, lift. Exhale, bow. Inhale, look up. And I'm going to bend the knees and walk the hands forward. Coming into plank pose. I'm just going to stay here and kind of seesaw back and forth a little bit. You can drop your knees and just kind of move around if you need more support here. And if your hips are drooping, that means you need to put your knees down. We don't want to droop the hips in this pose, and then it's not effective. Better to modify and have a good, strong modification. Okay, I think I'm talking too much. I'll quiet down a little bit. And I'm going to take a little break in child's pose, dropping the knees, untucking the toes, pressing back. All right, I'm going to reach my shoulders behind me, interlace them, and stretch up and over with those arms. Big shoulder emphasis today. All right, now I'm gonna release, and I'm gonna do what's called like a prayer stretch. So I'm gonna bring my arms together and kind of walk forward. And then just bring my forehead between those arms. Let's release, and we'll continue with our sun salutations. Curl the toes under, lift the knees up, and press back for down dog. Walking it out again. Bend your knees, inhale, look forward, and you can jump or hop to the top of your mat. forward fold. I'm gonna finger paint here a little bit. And just relaxing. Inhale all the way up. Move you back a bit so you can see me better. There we go. Inhale up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, lift. Exhale, bow. Inhale, look up. Lift those shoulders. Exhale, release. Inhale all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, lift. Exhale, bow. Inhale, look up, lift. And exhale, release. Inhale up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Let's come into a chair pose here. And then we'll come into like a figure 4 stretch or a one-legged chair. So bringing those heels back, spread your toes and just allow your feet to be rooted into the mat. So if you're lifting your toes here, just relax them. Now I'm going to come into that hip stretch. This may not be available to you, and that's okay. You can stay in chair. I'm going to lift up one leg and flex the foot, and then sit back to get a stretch through the back of the hip. Which feels really good because my buns are a little sore from some work I did yesterday. All right, let's come back into our chair if you're not already back there. Again, relaxing those feet and toes. You don't need to grip your mat for dear life. All right, let's try the other side. So crossing the other leg over. And if you've had a knee replacement, this may not be a good move for you. That's okay. Chair is fabulous if you just stay in chair. That's gonna help work your entire core, your thighs, your buns, your back, your belly. It's an excellent, excellent exercise. I'm going to sit back a little deeper and really get into the back of that hip. And now release. I'm going to come all the way down. And since I just stretched out, I'm going to give those buns a little bit of a massage. Let's get into our warrior poses, kind of the meat of our practice. So I'm gonna rock my way forward, coming into a standing forward fold. Inhale, stretch all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, lift. Exhale, down. Inhale, look up, lift the shoulders. Exhale, release. Inhale, all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Okay, from here I'm gonna come into warrior 1. I'm in the middle of my mat. So I'm gonna step forward with my right leg first and step back with the left leg and make my way up. Belly is in, shoulders are down. Deep breaths. You can always adjust your stance. Even after you've gotten into it, it's fine to move around a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna release my arms behind me and interlace them and then come into a forward fold here. This is called humble warrior. If it's not available to you, you can release the hands and have your hands down to support you more. All right, let's release the hands down. We're gonna step back. I'm gonna rock forward and then I'm gonna seesaw again here. And you're welcome to do chaturanga and come to low cobra or up dog. I'm just not doing as much of that now since I've been having a really tight upper back. So I'm just kind of working on the core here a bit. All right, I'm gonna step forward and come back to the middle of my mat. Inhale all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, lift. Exhale, down. Inhale, look up and lift those shoulders, nice flat back. I should be able to put a T-set on your back. Exhale, release. Inhale all the way up. And exhale, hands to heart center. Let's come into it on the left side. So stepping forward with the left leg and back with the right at an angle. Hips are forward, shoulders down. And let's not think about where we've been or where we're going. Just stay here with me, with each breath. I'm going to release my hands behind me and interlace them, and then I'm going to bow forward on this side. And release the hands, coming into a low lunge, pivoting the back foot. Step back, rock forward, and then we're gonna seesaw here a little bit. You can also come into chaturanga and low cobra or up dog if you choose. I'm just not including those as much in my personal practice. As a yoga teacher, I've learned to modify, that my body can't do everything that it used to do. And that's okay. It's still doing what it can for me. All right, let's come to down dog. So pressing up and back. I'm gonna walk it out again. And then we'll do our chair to one-legged chair. And we'll do our warrior flow again on each side. Stepping up to the middle of my mat. Inhale all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Coming into chair here. Relaxing those toes. You don't have to grip. You don't have to lift them up. But if you do that, notice. I used to ruin all my shoes because I was always gripping with my toes. I don't do that as much anymore since I've become more aware of it. All right, let's come into the one-legged chair on one side. So flex the foot to protect the joint and just sit back and open up through the back of the thigh and the rear and the hip. let's release on this side. Come back to chair. Relaxing the toes. Breathe. All right, let's come into it on the other side. So flex the foot. And then just see if you can press back into it until you get that delicious stretch. If you're feeling stinging, zinging pain, come out of this. You don't want to injure yourself. All right, let's release and come back into chair. And I'm going to actually lower down, 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 and then come into boat pose. You can come into it differently if you like. I'm going to bring my legs up. You can have the feet down, or you can grab onto the back of the legs. So keep holding on that. That's the lovely Becky passing through my camera. She's the manager of this gym, and she's fantastic. All right, now we're gonna roll forward, come into a forward fold, and straighten those legs if you can. Inhale all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart center. All right, let's come back into our warrior poses, starting on the right side. Step the right foot forward and the left foot back. You can have your hands at heart center if you prefer, or if you can keep the shoulders down, pinkies facing each other, the arms can come up. Hopefully it didn't sound too much like I was kissing up to my boss, but I really enjoy working here. It's a nice gym. All right, release your hands behind you, interlace, and now bow down. And let's do something a little bit different this time. Let's sweep up again. This is probably gonna be our last time, so we might as well have fun, right? Our last time on this side, I meant. All right, let's do this again. Interlace and bow down. And now release your hands down. We're gonna play a little bit here. And I want you to bring that shoulder underneath. You can drop the back knee if you need to give yourself a little more support. And you can just stay here if you like. I'm gonna take this a step further. So I am going to interlace and create a bind here. Ooh, that's not happening today. I think I'm just gonna bring this leg down and stay modified. But I'll show it briefly on the other side. Doesn't look like my body wants to do that today though. It's okay to modify. I recommend it. I don't think there's anybody in the world that can do every yoga pose that there is, except maybe those people from Cirque du Soleil. But I'm sure even they have limitations. All right, let's release and we'll come onto all fours and let's take a little break in down dog. Or not down dog, sorry, child's pose. I lied. All right, rock forward, curl the toes under, lift the knees up and press back for downward facing dog. Let's walk those feet a little bit further forward. Inhale, come up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, lift. Exhale, bow down. Inhale, look up, and again, lift those shoulders up. Exhale, release. Inhale all the way up. And let's come into that pose on the other side. So stepping forward with the left leg, stepping back with the right foot. Foot is at an angle. Hips are square. Shoulders are down. I've done this pose a million times probably, but it always feels like something fresh when I come into it. Because even though I've done a similar pose, I've never been in this moment before doing this pose. Kind of trippy, huh? All right, release your hands behind you, interlace, and let's come down here. And now I'm gonna play on this side a little bit. So let's come back up, coming into warrior one again. Really good for strengthening this whole core area is these transitions. I think the transitions are as important as the poses, if not more so. All right, let's do this again. Interlace the hands and make your way forward. And now let's release both hands here. And I'm going to bring this arm underneath. And yeah, not feeling it on this side either. I'll just show it to you briefly. You can reach up and around. But my hips just feel a little tight, so I'm not gonna do that today. I'm gonna just focus on opening up those hips a little bit rather than doing some fancy dancy move. Being aware in your practice means knowing on that day what you're needing, being in tune. And as you develop that skill in your practice, it will help you be more intuitive and aware in your life. All right, so I'm gonna come into my seesaw plank again. So lifting the knee up, step back, and I'm gonna seesaw forward and back a little bit. You know, when you're not mindful, and we all daydream sometimes and get lost in our heads, a lot of times you miss a lot. So I was heading home from work the other day. I was being a little more mindful, and I saw my friend turning into Fred Meyer, saw her beautiful face, and I saw on the way home the beautiful sky, 3 golden retrievers in the back of a truck, and a mariachi band. Like, all of those things made me so happy. But if I'd been trapped in my thoughts, let's go to down dog again. If I'd been just replaying my day, all my successes and failures, as I have a bad habit of doing, I would have missed those things. I would have missed those gifts. I'm going to tell you a story related to that in a few minutes. All right, let's come back into our boat pose one more time. And you may be needing a modified boat pose today. That's okay. Whatever you need. It's more important to learn what your body needs than it is to come into some fancy pose. Your intuition is such a marvelous blessing, but the only way you can develop it is by listening to yourself, trusting yourself. All right, let's bring those feet down, and we're just gonna windshield wiper. And then we'll do a little bit of a hip opener while I tell you a story. And then we'll come into Shavasana together. And just let our body incorporate this practice. All right. So coming into a seated pose. Let's give ourselves some love today, since we're talking about that. Pick up one of your feet and you're gonna give it a massage. Now, there was a story of a woman who was seeking enlightenment. And so she sat in a forest and prayed to Shiva. I think it was Krishna, sorry. She was praying to Krishna. And she was so intent, and Krishna walked up and tapped her on the shoulder. And she said, "Go away, I'm trying to pray." And so he tapped her again, and she said, "Leave me alone. I'm trying to have some alone time here. I'm trying to pray to Krishna." And then so Krishna just shrugged his shoulders and walked away. And I think a lot of times in our lives, there's these everyday miracles that because we're so busy trying to seek out sometimes something transcendent, sometimes another goal, we miss those ways that the universe is trying to talk to us. We miss those ways that God is trying to bless us. All right, now I'm going to come up to my calf here. And let's bring this knee into the crook of our arm, and then with the other hand you can grab that foot and just rock it here. Or if you want to come a little deeper, since we've stretched a bit through the hips, you can, if you're able to, you can do this, but not if it hurts. Other side here. So just giving that other foot some love and attention. Self-care is so important, especially with all the turmoil in the world. I think sometimes we feel powerless and afraid. And that's pretty natural when there's so much going on with everybody. Everything. And that's when we may not be able to change the world or change our stresses, but we can try to stop, regroup, and give ourselves some care so we can be ready to fight that good fight the next day, or the next hour, or the next breath. All right, let's go up towards the shin a little bit here. This feels really good. All right, and then put your knee in the crook of that same arm, and then your foot's gonna come in your hand, or if you're a little more flexible as I am, you can cradle both. But don't force this to happen if it's not happening for you. You don't want to injure yourself. Kind of like, I know if I had forced that bind, even though I was able to get into it today, I would have been sorry. Because my body was resisting me today. Even though maybe 2 weeks ago, I could have done it and it would have been fine. Today it's not. All right, let's release and we're gonna lie down on our mats. Stretch up, and this time I'm gonna do a roll up to come up. So I'm gonna roll up. You can grab onto the back of the legs or just roll over to your side if you want. I'm gonna come into a forward fold here. And coming into a seated pose. Coming back home to my breath. Center and your thumbs to forehead center. We bow. Namaste.